Human beings are the ultimate predators, and when hunting Japanese children isn't enough, we wipe out entire species. Here are my favorite animals driven to extinction by humans. Vialis Bear was the only bear native to Africa. Its habitat was the Atlas Mountain Range in North Africa. They were well known for being bad at climbing and mostly plant eaters, which may have contributed to their decline in numbers. But they were hunted to extinction. Ever since the Romans conquered North Africa, the bear were intensely killed and captured. They were often taken to the Colosseum and made to fight to the death. After the fall of Rome, local tribes continued to hunt them. The last bear was killed by a hunter in the 1870s. The Coiffeur once lived in South Africa. They looked like a mix between a horse and a zebra, or some kind of mythical beast from Through the Looking Glass. Despite its interesting appearance, only one Coiffeur ever had its photograph taken while being alive. They were ruthlessly hunted by Dutch colonials for their unique hide and to keep them from disturbing farmland. The last population was exterminated in the year 1875. The last wild Coiffeur died 3 years later, in 1878, and the last captive died in Amsterdam Zoo on the 12th of August 1883. Many died in zoos as their keepers had no idea how to care for them. Today, there are only 23 surviving stuffed or mounted Coiffeur. Isolated on small islands just off the coast of Argentina lived the Falkland Island wolf. They were first discovered by Captain John Strong in 1690. He wanted to bring one to Europe, but on the journey back it commits suicide by jumping into the sea. They were studied by Charles Darwin as he considered them unique. Their native islands have been a territory of Spain, France, and Britain. The multinational settlers systematically hunted the wolf, as they believed it was killing their livestock. They were mostly poisoned and shot in a deliberate cull. The cull worked, as it was in 1876 that the wolf effectively became extinct. Only 12 specimens exist in museums today. The Steller's sea cow was a slow-moving marine mammal which was only ever partially underwater. They were once common in the Pacific Ocean, but were mercilessly hunted by the native population. By the time Europeans discovered them, there were just 1,500 left. 27 years later, that number fell to 0. Outside of Wales, it was the largest mammal to exist in modern times, stretching from 26 to 30 feet. They were hunted primarily for their blubber, to be used as a butter substitute. Natives would harvest sea otters, which may have contributed to the sea cow's extinction, as they relied on otters for food. The great auk was so rare and valuable that just one specimen could be sold for a small fortune. Although they look like penguins, they were not. They were far superior swimmers, but they were slow movers while on land, making them easy prey for humans. After being wiped out in Europe in the 16th century, they became one of the first species to gain legal protection. They were also hunted to extinction in North America, and with only one small colony in Iceland, they were even more valuable to hunters. Hunting them was seen as fair game, as people thought other colonies existed further north, but that wasn't the case. The last great auk was killed on the 3rd of July 1844. It was strangled to death and its egg stamped on. The dodo might be my favorite animal to ever exist. Being native only to small islands near Madagascar, where they had no natural predators, they had no fight or flight instinct. When Dutch sailors first discovered the islands, They discovered the dodo weren't afraid of humans and tasted quite good, so they became a prime target for hunting. But the real cause of their extinction was not hunting, it was disease brought over by pigs and other farm animals. They went extinct so quickly that people in the 18th century thought the dodo never existed. They saw it as just a myth. The only native seal to the Gulf of Mexico was the Caribbean monk seal. It was officially declared extinct in 2008 as the only seal to go extinct due to human activity. They were overhunted for their meat and oil, as they could weigh up to 600 pounds. Their average lifespan was just 20 years, but we don't know much else about them, as they were often killed before being studied. Like the dodo, they had no fear of humans. The first recorded encounter with them comes from the second voyage of Columbus. They were declared extinct after a 5-year search for any specimen. The Gray's wallaby was a species of kangaroo that went extinct in the 1940s. They were quite common until around 1910, but became increasingly rare after that. So rare, in fact, that those interested in conservation and protection could not capture any to protect, apart from 4, all of which died during transportation. They were hunted to extinction mostly for their fur, and are remembered for their pattern of movement. They would take 2 short hops, then a long one, and then stare into the sky for a while, but they were still hard to catch up with. One time a Gray's wallaby was chased 6 kilometers on horseback before escaping. To avoid this, greyhounds were used to hunt them. Officially declared extinct 102 years ago, the passenger pigeon was once the most common bird in North America. With a population of up to 5 billion, they flew in flocks of hundreds of thousands. And actually, some flocks were in the hundreds of millions. By virtue of their numbers, they needed vast areas of land to breed. Hunters would find these areas where the birds could easily be shot. Large nets were set up in the surrounding areas to stop birds from escaping. That's how several billion birds were hunted to extinction. The last flock was decimated in 1896. Its hunters knew it was the last flock. The Tasmanian tiger was a marsupial, more related to the kangaroo than anything else, but its appearance may convince you otherwise. Having the body of a wolf, the stripes of a tiger, and the head of a fox. Despite going extinct in mainland Australia long before its discovery, they thrived in Tasmania, but they were systematically hunted due to the suspicion they were killing farm animals, so farmers would offer a bounty for each Tasmanian tiger killed. In fact, the last wild Tasmanian tiger was killed by a man called Wilf Batty. The last in captivity died in 1936 as a result of neglect.